If you're getting your start in wholesaling, this is the episode for you. Today's guest, Jarrett Jackson, breaks down how he left his W-2 job and started wholesaling real estate and went to 50 plus deals in his first year and now does 80 to 100 strictly on market. So this is going to be an episode you want to tune into, but if you haven't listened to this podcast before, my name is Chris Rickenbaugh, and this is the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. I'm breaking down my journey in real estate and business and also bringing on high-level investors to share their stories and about how they built their businesses. You can connect with me on Instagram and TikTok at chris.rickenbaugh. That's chris.richenbach. And if you're listening to this podcast, you could also go over and watch it on YouTube as we did this interview in person. But make sure you like, share, and subscribe because that is the only way this podcast grows and we can reach more people to be able to help them succeed toward whatever goal they're going for. So let's hop into Jarrett's interview. All right, Jarrett Jackson, welcome to the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, pumped to have you on. I know you do quite a bit in real estate, so super excited to dive into that. And like we were talking before, doing a lot of on-market acquisition, which I think a lot of people in today's market, they're spending so much money on mailers, so much money on cold calling, and you're like, hey, we're not doing any of that, and we're still doing a lot of volume on deals. So I'm super excited to get into that. And but I wanted to kind of talk about how you got into real estate. So before you even got in, what were you doing before that?
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah.
Before real estate, I've always been in sales. My previous job was medical device sales, covering, three different states between South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee, selling airway management equipment. So like emergency use, intubations and stuff like that. So it was a really cool job. Very rewarding, both financially, but also just really the product that we sold was a life-saving device. And so there's a lot of gratification that comes out of that, knowing that, you're selling something every day that is going to keep somebody alive. So that's really exciting. But yeah, a lot of windshield time, a lot of nights in hotels.
Oh, from what I've heard about that industry, it's very intense and pretty cutthroat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's a very fun industry to be in, but it is a lot of work. A lot of work. I mean, there's mornings where you're out with the OR crew and trying to help with anesthesia, setting up and everything. So those mornings come really, really early, and so yeah, it's definitely a grind.
How did you find that industry? Were you in the medical space?
Actually, no. It's so funny. My previous sales job was with a company called UniFirst. So UniFirst is like Cintas, Aramark. They're probably the second largest behind Cintas. Believe it or not, I was selling toilet paper.
Oh yeah.
I was selling toilet paper and chemicals and mops and mats and different things so it was a B2B industry, and it's so funny. I did well at that and got recruited by this medical device company. So I always like to laugh because I literally went from selling toilet paper to telling anesthesiologists how to do their job. So
yeah, definitely a big life shift there from the toilet paper to being in the medical office. So,
exactly.
So I hear a lot of those stories about people in these high paying W-2 roles, but they end up seeing it's like, hey, this is as far as I can go. So what was that point to where, you felt, hey, I want to do something different?
Yeah. I mean, I have two young kids. And like I said earlier, it's, 90 plus nights a year in a hotel room with young kids. And my wife's job was pretty demanding with travel as well. And it's, it just got to a point where I didn't want to travel anymore. I didn't want to travel anymore. And I knew that there was a pathway to wealth that didn't include medical device.
Right.
And so, I was itching for something different. And, lo and behold, one of my colleagues with the medical device company had kind of already dabbled a little bit into real estate, had bought a couple Airbnbs, and he called me up one day. I'll never forget this. We were actually on vacation in Hilton Head, South Carolina with the family. I'm sitting on the beach, in my chair, and my buddy Brent, who is now my business partner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll hit on that later. But
For sure.
Brent calls me and says, Jarrett, this is not medical device related, but I know you've been wanting something different. Have you ever heard of wholesaling? And I was like, no, man, what are you talking about? He said, well, let me explain this to you. And he goes through kind of the highlights of what wholesaling was. And he said, I want you to read a couple books and listen to these podcasts, and then let's talk in like a week.
Bigger
And
pockets.
Bigger Pockets was definitely one of them. Man, I'm even having trouble remembering what all they were at this moment, but obviously reading Rich Dad Poor Dad was on the agenda for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, yeah, call me back in a couple weeks. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm on vacation. I'll look some of this stuff up. And it was the very next day I called him back. I was like, dude, I can do this. I can
Really?
absolutely do this. And so from that moment on, I just took in as much information as I could for the next 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
That was May 2022. I actually went to an event with Brent up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's called Hustle Harder. I'll never forget it because I met so many people there.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't done a deal, mind you. So like I'm not seasoned. I am as rookie as they come.
Yeah.
And I meet people like Mike Termini, who goes by Cash Money Mike, who will be speaking next month, coincidentally, at the meetup.
Yeah.
And I meet Eric Klein, and I meet Justin Colby, and like just all the greats are at this event. Who some of those later became mentors to me.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, after that event, I was just so fired up, and I was tired of sitting on the sidelines and just listening to things. And finally said, when I get back, I'm taking action. And that's kind of when things started to shift.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And I think a lot of the books and the podcasts, they, start repeating. So for, in my, in, from where I come from, it was, I kept hearing and reading the same things. I'm like, okay, it's time to take action.
Yeah.
But what was, your money mindset before the podcast, before the books, what was your mindset around money, and that really had to shift?
Yeah. I am the spender in the family.
Okay.
My wife is definitely the saver, the more thrifty one. So, I mean, even though I had a great job, my wife has a great job, and, we have a beautiful home and stuff, we never really put anything away for savings except for just your traditional 401k.
Mm-hmm.
And it really wasn't until Rich Dad Poor Dad that my mindset kind of shifted, right, on what wealth actually looks like and how you think about money. So I would say I didn't have a great relationship with money other than spending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's where a lot of people come from. It's until they read one of those books, and it takes like a big book like Rich Dad Poor Dad, because I think for me, the first book I ever read was The Wealthy Barber.
Yeah.
So that was a big mind shift for me, because at that time I wasn't like, I had no idea on money. We've only been taught the Dave Ramsey, and I think the Dave Ramsey way kind of just scares people into everything, or it puts them the other way and say, I'm not going to listen to that. Did you ever go through Dave Ramsey?
Nah, I've kind of erred on the side of the second there of,
Nice.
just never really related to it. I think what he teaches is great, but it's definitely one way or the other mindset, right? Like it doesn't, I guess, speak to everybody.
Right.
It never really spoke to me.
People in debt, it's perfect for, but I would say if you're looking to make money, not for you.
Yeah.
But going into, when you finally had that mindset shift and started going to the events and saying, hey, wholesaling is going to be the way for me, what was that first step to getting that first deal? What did you do?
Yeah. So let's see. August, I came back from that event in Milwaukee, Hustle Harder. I decided that I needed a mentor. Again, I was taking action already, but wasn't seeing results quite like I was expecting to. And coincidentally, I was on Instagram and I saw a message, actually a post from Justin Colby, and Justin says on the message, just, hey, I'm looking to take on one more one-on-one client. Hit me up in the DMs if you're interested. And immediately I was like, man, I just met that guy. We had a really cool talk up in Milwaukee. Just really respect the guy, listened to him speak on stage, and just connected with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, perfect, I'm gonna message him and see what comes up. It wasn't 30 seconds later the guy calls me So on the phone with
Jeez.
Justin, I'm a little bit starstruck at the time because, I'm new to this industry and he's a big dog. Um, but we just had a really great conversation. And from that day, really, and even today, he's still a mentor of mine. And that's, going on 3 years. So we still talk quite often. But it was at that moment that he took me under his wing and um, really taught me the business.
Hmm.
And to be a dynamic investor, not just a wholesaler.
Right.
And that's really been my goal. Uh, Wholesaling is just really an exit strategy. It's one that we use quite often, but it's to help support the greater good of the business.
Right. And that's, masterminds are so big, and having those mentors to be able to just help you think differently. So was his mastermind, was it a lot more towards, hey, this is how the business works, here's exactly what you need to do, kind of in a blueprint? Or was it a little bit more to where it was, hey, I'm going to change your mindset as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Justin has different levels to his mentorship. There was only two or three of us that were what we'd call one-on-one students with Justin. That, now, don't get me wrong, if you're a student, Justin, he's going to give you his phone number and
Yeah.
like you can call him anytime. But uh, the level that I came into his mentorship, it was more intimate. It was
Hmm.
more, I'm going to teach you from A to Z, but I'm also going to teach you, how to utilize real estate to grow wealth.
Right.
And so it wasn't just a wholesaling thing, right? Like I said, he's a very dynamic investor. He uses an exit strategy, but um, it's not the end all be all of the business, right? So,
Hmm.
that's what me and my wife at the time, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to start with wholesaling as an entry point to real estate, knowing that the bigger picture was to hold rentals. And
Hmm.
so, that's the path we're still on. I don't know that you ever leave that path, right? Like
Yeah.
once you're in this industry, and I don't see us going back. If I ever go back to a W-2, then that's like my worst fear. That's what drives me.
But it's so cool to think about that, because your worst case scenario is literally just about everybody's normal day.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what I had to break through too. Like, I was, just out of college, wasn't making money, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to figure out something, but
Yeah.
this thing is always going to be here for me,
Right.
like, if it hits the fan. So being able to, the goal was to eventually quit your job,
Hmm.
start holding rentals, and have this as a business. From joining the mastermind, I
Hmm.
think those fast track
Oh
your
yeah,
learning,
for sure.
because you don't make all of the beginning mistakes. You
Yeah.
still make mistakes because that's part of it.
Yeah.
But from being able to say, hey, I want to quit my job, and then doing your first couple deals, what did that timeline look like, and what did those first deals do to help get you out?
Yeah. So again, 2022 was my year of learning about real
Hmm.
estate, joining the mentorships. I actually started a real estate meetup here in Charlotte prior to even doing my first deal,
Oh yeah.
coincidentally. So that's really funny that somebody that has never done a deal has just decided that they were going to start a meetup. And I'll tell you why I did that. And it did kind of help catapult things into the future. But whenever I was getting into the business and getting into the community here of real estate investing, like I didn't know anybody.
Hmm.
And I went to a few events, didn't really feel like they catered to the newbie, a place where you could go to meet people that are seasoned investors. Like there was no like welcoming, warm, fuzzy feeling from any of the groups that I had gone to.
Hmm.
So I was like, if I can't find it, I'll just create it. And so, again, without doing my first deal, I think it was November. Actually, it was November of 2022 that we had our first meetup, and we had 35 people show up, which was amazing. I could not imagine. I couldn't believe we had 35 people. But one of the people I mentioned earlier that I met in Milwaukee was Mike Termini, and he was
Hmm.
my very first speaker. And here we are 3 years later, and he's going to be the 3-year anniversary speaker next month. So
Oh, awesome.
excited for that kind of reunion. So, but yeah, the end of 2022, before we ended the year, I had done two or three wholesale deals, and my wife and I decided to jump into a flip. A natural progression, I think, is as an early investor is wholesale a few, flip a few, and then start holding. And we kind of followed that model. Um, But it wasn't really until I would say January of the next year that the wholesale business at least started to grow some legs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a lot of that was just more action. I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. And I had to come to the realization that nobody's going to be here to save you. If you really want to leave your job, if the goal was to not work at a W-2 anymore, you really got to put the work in. And so we put our head down, or I put my head down, and you know, I think we did in 2023 somewhere around 54 deals at the end of the year.
Wow. That's a big step up from
Yeah,
starting in 2022.
yeah, and a lot of that was with hardly any marketing. Um, you
Yeah. We're gonna hang on that for 1 second.
okay,
But yeah, so going from, 0 deals in 2022 to scaling up to 50 plus the next year,
yeah,
I think for a lot of people that's like, how do you do that? Because there's people in this game consistently that aren't doing those type of deals.
yeah.
So what, yeah, like how did that happen? Going from 0 to 50 in 1 year?
Well, two things. One, our marketing strategy was on market acquisition. So we look at the MLS, we build relationships with agents. I say we, at the time it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our team has grown, and we can get into that too. But at the time, it was just me. But I would also say strategic partners, because I did a lot of JVs as well. So,
Right.
54 of those aren't necessarily me direct to seller or me direct to the agent, but some of those were JV deals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely helped give us momentum in 2023. But yeah, so on market acquisitions has been my bread and butter ever since I got started. And the reason for that is because the sellers already have their hands raised, right? Like you can spend money on PPC, you can spend money on, cold callers, whatever you want in, your lead generation. But I was looking for a low barrier to entry that I could have consistent relationships with or consistent conversations with. And what better way than talk to the agents that do this every day?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we build relationships with agents. They would send us their deals, and we would find buyers for them. So that really, and that's still that's still our technique today.
Yeah.
So it's definitely people say there's not deals on the MLS. You're just not looking hard enough, or you don't know what you're looking for.
Right. So let's break that down right there. Being able to do an on market deal, because that was my first wholesale deal,
Yep.
was an on market one, and we just saw like, or it was actually before market, and you called the agent. We
Mm-hmm.
said, hey, I'm looking at this house. He said that one probably won't work for you, but then you asked the question of, hey, do you have anything else that I could possibly take a
Yeah.
look at? And they said, oh yeah, I actually have this rental. We're gonna list it here in a couple weeks at this number. And I said, well, can I take a look? And then we were able to get it under contract.
Yep.
We were able to sell it for about 10,000.
Yeah.
And we did a JV on that one. We did it with Justin at TCC.
Oh yeah.
So we did that first one with them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So what does that look like, being able to get something that's on market? Let's go specifically on market
Okay.
after it's been listed.
Yeah.
What does that look like, being able to have that conversation with the agent and do the negotiating to where you're still, it's
Still
a deal
running.
for you?
Yeah. I mean, really, it's how good are you at running your numbers, and do you know your buyers at the end of the day? Your buyers are going to dictate the price that it's valued at. So it's really knowing your buyers first, and then working the deal backwards, so to speak, right? Like if you don't know what your buyers are buying at, then you don't know what to go get the number at. And that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I really learned to do well from Justin, was underwrite deals. So we are very, very good at underwriting. And at the end of the day, if we can't get to the price with the agent, we just, on to the next.
Yeah.
Right. So, but we have those conversations, and we always tell the agents, look, we're going to do one or three things with the property. We tell this direct to seller too. We always tell them, hey, we're going to do one or three things with the property. We always want to have at least two exit strategies. We're either going to buy and keep it, put it in the rental portfolio. We're going to buy and flip it, or we're going to assign this to one of our partners. I mean, and we're just transparent with them at the end of the day. Like, we're not trying to keep anything from them.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of our contracts say, hey, LLC and or designated entity. So we're using the standard North Carolina agreement. We put it on there. We let them know what we're doing. And, 90% of the time we're going to end up assigning the contract, but there are a few that we hold on to or whatever. So um, we just operate in transparency on the front side so that when they see an assignment, a contract at the closing table, they're not surprised. So
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense because it's not like you're trying to go behind their backs
yeah,
and go and assign it, which I think a lot of, you know, wholesalers now, that's what they're doing.
mm-hmm.
Is they're trying to be sneaky, and
Yeah,
that's why we're having all the threats of
regulation. Yeah,
yeah. And I talked to Eric Bledsoe, and he talked about, he's like, bring on the regulation
yeah.
because that's just going to make it easier for us to be able to go get deals.
Yeah, I think it'll kick a lot of the people out that just think this is an easy industry. This is
Mm,
not an easy industry to
no,
be in. This is grind day in and day out. So I'm not opposed to regulation at all. I think the current proposed regulation for North Carolina is pretty stringent, and I've been told by my attorney that if this were to pass today as it was originally written, it would be the most stringent wholesaling law or real estate law in the country, which is kind of scary. But I'm not opposed to regulation happening, and I think it could be a good thing as long as it's done right.
for sure. And I think, wholesaling is looked at the get rich quick way
Yeah,
of real estate.
yeah,
So whenever somebody comes in, like you meet somebody new at a meetup and they're like, oh, I'm wholesaling. It's like, okay. So
yeah.
you probably saw this on an Instagram reel and you just wanted to jump in. Now you have something under contract and you realize you can't assign it because you have
Mm-hmm.
it locked up way too high.
Yeah,
I think that's happening a lot. We see that a lot posted in the
for
Facebook
sure.
groups. So how are you underwriting these deals to make sure you get a good deal? Is there a certain formula or how are you doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we keep it pretty simple. Um, we just we really do things by is it a easy flip, we do $30 a square foot. If it's kind of a medium flip, it's $50 a square foot. If it's a full gut job, we're probably closer to $65-$70 a square foot, and that
Hmm.
generally gets us in the ballpark
Of the renovation.
of the end price that we
Okay.
need to be at. So it's the typical 70%, 75% ARV minus repairs. I mean, again, there's nothing crazy about it, but each project, each house, each home is not just going to work off of a formula.
Hmm.
So it takes getting eyes on it. It takes, trusted partners going and seeing it and giving us their feedback, or me personally walking it. But we don't do this just in Charlotte, so I can't go walk every property,
Right.
right? So I mean, we're in Tennessee, and we're in North Carolina, we're in Georgia, we're in South Carolina, we're in Kentucky. So we do this all over. But how we get around not having to physically go walk it ourselves is we use a strategic partner in Investor Boots. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Investor Boots, but they're a really great company that can do anything you need real estate based, whether that's put a lot box on, get photos,
Mm.
be there for showings for investors, cut the grass, whatever it is, they have a solution for it. And you get a notary. Like, in fact, their name prior to Investor Boots was Notable Notaries, and they realized, hey, there's so much more that we can offer to
Yeah.
these investors that Notable Notaries kind of pigeonholes us into just one domain. And so that's where Investor Boots came from, because they're just kind of an all-inclusive um, package that you can hire out. So those guys are great. But yeah, I mean, underwriting shouldn't be hard. I think erring on the side of conservative
Hmm.
is the better way, because you're only going to either give yourself opportunity to move this or fatten your spread, right? Like, being
Yeah.
conservative in your underwriting is the key to really, being successful. You're going to have fewer contracts, but you're going to have better contracts.
Right. And that's, being, there's a couple companies that can't come to mind, but, they're sending them out and it's like, these deals don't even make
Yeah.
sense. But it's because they have those locked up and they're just trying to make a spread.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to eventually buy it, which we don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, those companies are basically doing the same thing because they're just going to off mark or, offload the deal. So being able to make sure you get the ARV correct, because there's so many
Yeah.
people out there just inflating. Like
Right.
it's worth 400 and you're saying, "Oh, it's worth 450, 475."
Yeah, that comp was 3 miles down the road.
Yeah.
Sold 2 years ago.
Yeah, in Charlotte, it's like it's different on every street.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, it can be for sure.
yeah, so it's super super tough, and being able to underwrite.
Yeah.
So that's step number 1 if you're going to be able to
Yeah.
go into the business.
And take those like you have to take your comps very serious. It cannot be 6 months old. It cannot be. I mean, I dare say if it's not sold in the last 60 days, it could be. I mean, especially in this market right now,
Oh,
it
for
can
sure.
change, right? And then not being more than half a mile away and not crossing any major roads or a railroad track between this neighborhood and that neighborhood. Those are what we call comp killers,
Mhm.
or a power line or whatever. There's so many different factors. The number part's pretty simple. It's a basic formula, but there's different things you have to take into consideration, which is why I say, every property is unique
Yeah.
in its underwriting. And so, to your point, I think most wholesalers today just are very vague with their comps. They're trying to stretch it for more than what it is, where we, again, err on the side of caution. So, our goal for our company is when you get it in your inbox, you're excited to click it and see what it's about, because if it comes from us, it's going to be a good deal. That's our goal.
Right. And I think that's the biggest thing, just being able to build that relationship to
Yeah.
where, hey, if this is coming into your account or being sent to you, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get back on track here with your story, because, we started in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
2023, 50 plus deals, and, you're targeting on market and
Yeah.
doing a lot of JVs. So where does 2024 lead into now that you have a lot of steam rolling
Yeah.
and, you're consistent now?
A lot of money spent. 2024 was the year of a lot of money spent. More mentorships that maybe didn't necessarily need.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing again, or actually starting to market. So PPC, what is it? Pay per lead. I mean,
Yeah.
like all the different methods: Facebook marketing, TikTok marketing, Instagram marketing. We spent just my company spent $120,000,
Wow.
and my now business partner did the same thing. So we spent a lot of money in 2024, but we learned a lot of lessons. We still did a lot of volume, but the consensus was our volume still came from on market. And so, but when we exited 2024, we looked back at where we made the most profit and how many deals we did. And beginning of this year, we made the conscious decision that we're stopping all marketing, and we're going back to what got us here and made us successful.
Yeah, and sticking with what works and being able to understand the data that you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
Is it coming from, all of these things, and like we were talking about before, these people are getting 20 phone calls a day, 20 mailers a week. It's just the same thing over and over and over.
Recycled
And
leads, yeah.
somebody that's doing cold calls, like that's some of the recommendations I've been getting. It's like I'm meeting these people who have been called. Like they're not
Yeah.
even picking up the phone anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to think outside the box to be able to do deals in this market. So that's why I think it's so interesting that you guys are getting everything on market and, having that much volume and that much consistency. So, being able to go from the marketing during this time, 2023, 2024, are you starting to hold any rentals?
Yeah, so actually 2024, we decided to buy an Airbnb, or buy a property up on Beach Mountain, North
Mm-hmm.
Carolina. Um, and we bought that more as a lifestyle asset, is what I like
Yeah.
to call it, because it's something that me and my family use, our friends use, and
Mm-hmm.
but we still rent it out. And so for us, it was the tax benefits, but it was
Oh, yeah.
also
Right on.
we love to snowboard, and like we want to be up there during the winter. So that's why we call it a lifestyle asset, because it is something that we use quite often. So we're getting really excited about the winter coming, because again, my 5 and my 8-year-old love to snowboard, and so do I and my wife as well. So we're excited about it. But yeah, I mean that's the only one we personally hold right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now business partners and other entities that I'm a part of, we hold property, but that is the only one that we personally hold as James Webb Company.
Gotcha. So being able, I see a lot of that in the beginning where people are getting started in wholesaling. They're
Mhm.
just flipping everything, flippers too. and they're not keeping any of
Yeah.
these rentals. So at this stage of your life
Hmm.
and stage of your business, how are you starting to look at it as,
Yeah.
are you looking to start holding properties?
Absolutely. I mean, again, that's been the goal the entire time. Wholesaling is not the end goal. We'll always wholesale because it's a cash machine, and it helps keep the business afloat. But this year, at the beginning of this year, we made a decision to join forces. Actually, let me step back for a second. My colleague that I spoke about earlier,
Hmm.
Brent, had his own wholesale business, was successful with it as well, and at the beginning of this year, we said, look, we're doing well separately, but we can go so much further together than we will apart. Which I love saying that. If you ever come to the meetup, which you've been to,
Oh yeah.
I say it at the end of every meetup is just that. We're going to go further together than we ever will apart. And I was sitting here thinking, I was like, man, I say this every month at the meetup. I need to live it.
Yeah.
And so we just had a very candid conversation and said, hey, let's do this. And so we joined forces. We brought his team and my team, which none of this would be possible without our teams now. Like the scale that
Mm.
we're trying to achieve and that we have achieved, like it doesn't happen just by me. Yeah, I started my company and it was doing okay, but it takes a team to really run this efficiently. And
Right.
man, we have the best people on our team, absolutely the best people. But um, and then in February this year, we decided, hey, we're gonna take this another step further. And Brent, my business partner, had a friend in Nashville that um, wanted to get into real estate. He's an entrepreneur. He's built and sold multiple businesses. About to exit his cannabis company for a lot of money.
Mm.
Owns a mezcal company, and he just he wants to get into real estate. And so Brent brings it to me, and it's like, hey, what do you think about us starting a multifamily division? And we go into business with Alex.
Yeah.
Alex is the friend, and I said, man, I don't know, man. Like that's a stretch. Like we're just kind of getting our legs about us and making some really good headway on the single family side. Like, where are we going with this? And he said, well, we all want to hold property, and it's just as hard or just as easy to buy a multifamily as it is to buy a single family. And why get 10 doors on 10 parcels when you can get 10 doors on one parcel?
Right.
And so, the economies of scale, if you will.
Hmm.
So at that point, we're like, all right, so what's this going to look like? And we got together. Alex actually flew to Charlotte to meet me, which was great. We vibed immediately, and
Awesome.
we thought, hey, let's do this. And so since February, we've opened up our multifamily side, Apex Capital Partners. And our goal for like the first 9 to 12 months was just to wholesale whatever came in, just to build the capital up.
Hmm.
Here we are 6, 7 months in, and we're looking to take down two ourselves, which is pretty exciting. So our goal of holding property is starting to come to fruition.
Hmm.
We're not at the closing table yet, but we have 4 or 5 deals between North Carolina and Tennessee
Awesome.
currently that all have some great opportunities either to wholesale or to keep for our own portfolio. So that's the
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, definitely going after the bigger chunks because you see a lot of people like they start just keeping the deals that they're wholesaling or
Mhm.
flipping. They'll bird out, keep it,
Yeah.
but your mindset's way big. It's like, hey, we want to go after the bigger chunks. But you mentioned systems, and I want to go into how is this business running? Because in
Yeah.
the beginning, most of the people are doing the cold calls,
Yeah.
doing all the calling.
Solopreneurs. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they start figuring out, oh, if I start building these systems, then this is going to help me run way smoother and we're going to make a lot of money. So what are those systems that are in your business helping it run without you?
Yeah. I mean, I was just a Google Sheets kind of guy early on.
I'm there right now.
Yeah, listen, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
especially as a solopreneur because you're the only one in the data, and so you know what you build out, and it works for you, and it worked for me for a while. But as you're building a team, you need a central database. You need central lines of communication. You need phone systems if you're going to have cold callers. You need
Hmm.
whatever, and we've tried several CRMs over the past couple of years, and at the beginning of this year, we decided to switch systems when we joined forces. When Brent and I became partners, we both had been in Salesforce our entire
Hmm.
sales careers. because of, the different companies we work for. There's no better sales platform than in my opinion, than Salesforce. And so,
Right.
earlier this year we heard about Stephanie Better's and her left main REI,
Mm-hmm.
and that it was built on a Salesforce platform. And both of our eyes just kind of lit up, and we're like, this is it. We're looking for a new CRM. We know Salesforce, we know its capabilities, and we went with it. And I kind of like to reference that we have the keys to a Ferrari in Salesforce, but we're kind of still driving a Honda Civic right now because it has
Yeah.
so much capability,
Oh yeah.
and we're not utilizing it to its fullest potential at all. But it is definitely a system that we see can grow with us.
Yeah, and that's big because that's where a lot of people start, and it's not till you start accumulating all of those leads. Like, I just finished Ready Fire Aim,
Okay.
and they talk about, hey, you shouldn't be doing anything outside your business until you're bringing in $1 million. That includes the office,
Mm-hmm.
the CRMs, all of this, and that's where a lot of people, I think they try to start there,
Mm-hmm.
but the issue is, it's like you're focused on the wrong things. You're focused on sales. So being able to start what you did, and hey, I need a Google spreadsheet. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now it's starting to be a lot. We have the income.
Yeah.
Now we need to be able to upgrade to a company like LeftMain,
Yeah.
because I've done the demo for that as well.
Okay.
And I said, as soon as we get to this point,
Yeah.
that is what we are moving to.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great system and such a great support system,
Yeah.
right? That Stephanie and her team have. We have a dedicated um, rep that helps us with any questions that we have. So I can't say enough good things about that particular system and how it's helped us be more efficient and centralized. And I'm really excited about where we're going to take it because, again, there's just so much you can do within Salesforce. And so I think it's going to help be a tool that just makes us even more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be really cool to kind of see it develop
Mm.
now that you've kind of got the wheels on it. Now
Yeah.
it can start driving a little bit.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah. So, with all of these systems in place, and you're able to come do a podcast middle of the day. So
I should be on the phones.
Yeah,
Let me tell you,
that's
I should be on the phones right now. But
that's how we all feel, isn't it? But what does your involvement look like in your business today?
Yeah. So the single family team, I told you we have such a great team, and we would be remiss if I didn't shout out Barrett for really running our single family team. Barrett Smith. If you guys are in Charlotte and you come to the meetups, make sure you shake this guy's hand. He's just a wealth of knowledge. Loves the industry and loves helping, and that's exactly what he does for our single family team. From mentoring them on the acquisition side, he runs our dispositions team. So on the single family side, I don't have as much involvement as I used to.
Mm-hmm.
Again, our business model for Brent, myself, and Alex is been to pivot to the multifamily side. So I'm very active in the multifamily side. I'm actually, between Brent and I, we handle acquisitions on the multifamily, which was such a huge learning curve for us this year because we both did single family, and now we're having to figure out how to underwrite multifamily. And man, it's been a challenge, but at the end of the day, that's our baby moving forward. Like, this is how we know we're going to get to wealth. So it's something I'm excited to do each day. So my involvement is now being on the phones again. So I went through a period of time where I wasn't as involved on the phones, and now I'm back on it and really like it. It's a different conversation with multifamily owners versus the single family.
They're a little bit well versed.
Yeah, which is good and bad, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they want a lot more.
They want a lot more, or they think they know everything, or they're just like, yeah, I inherited this, I don't want it. Maybe an offer. But you kind of get all sides of the coin here. It's where the single family side, those conversations just. I don't know. Again, we did a lot of on market acquisition, so we're dealing with agents more so than direct to seller.
Yeah.
And agents can either be your friend or think you're the scum of the earth as a wholesaler.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, my involvement is mostly on the multifamily side.
Yeah. Super, super cool to see, just because, you're doing that much volume and you're able to put these systems together relatively quickly. And I think that's a big attribute to the mastermind. Being in that, they're able to fast track your success. So being able to find those really good masterminds, somebody you trust, somebody who's doing what you want to do and be able to do exactly what they're doing because they're coaching you.
Yeah.
I think that's huge. And I had just a couple, quick hitter questions. I
Okay.
got like 5 quick ones. So, what advice would you give to somebody trying to leave their 9 to 5?
Ooh. To get into to real estate, the myth you hit that nail on the head earlier of people think wholesaling is a get rich quick scheme.
Yeah.
I would say please don't go into it with that mentality because it is absolutely not that, and it is a lot of work. Running a wholesale business in particular is leaving one rat race for another in
Hmm.
a lot of ways, right?
For
Like
sure.
it's very quick cash, but how much work did you have to put into it? So you're still on that hamster wheel. I mean, absolutely. So go into it with the assumption that it's going to be a lot of work, but it's for the greater good. Um, Mentors you mentioned can help skip the line.
Hmm.
You're obviously going to pay for those mentorships, but I wouldn't have been able to fast track my success without having those mentors.
Right. So, would mentors be like if somebody's starting with no experience,
Mhm.
is mentorship the first thing they should seek out?
That's a $1 million question. You could YouTube University it for a while, which is what I did, and read the books. And I'm not saying that's the right way. It's just the path that I took before seeking
Yeah.
mentorship. But have an idea of what your end goal is. What is your end goal? If it's just to leave your job, fine, great, go full steam into wholesaling. But if it's to build wealth and build a lifestyle, then seek a mentor,
Hmm.
learn about all the exit strategies, and master one of them until you get to the next point. But don't try to master them all at once. I definitely had shiny object syndrome early on, where
Yeah.
I would go from learning how to wholesale to subject to creative finance to, you know, uh, anything. I mean, like really, there's so many different ways to make money in this business,
Hmm.
and if you get sidetracked, you're just really stalemating your process.
Makes sense. Yeah. So,
Progress, not process,
yeah.
progress.
What's one hire that I'll start over. What's one hire that transformed your wholesaling company?
One hire that bringing Barrett aboard, absolutely, yeah, bringing Barrett aboard to the team.
So,
Um,
what's his role on the team?
yeah, so he started out as director of dispositions.
Hmm.
When we decided to go into the multifamily space, he took on a much higher role, basically running the single family team. So um, he also helps us underwrite some of the multifamily stuff, and he handles the dispositions for multifamily as well. So he is all inclusive for both of our businesses on dispo, and runs the single family team now, which has allowed Brent and I to focus on the multifamily.
Okay. So pretty much running them, trying to get yourself out of these different roles of the
Yeah,
business, be able to, because there's acquisition, disposition. So once you get out of the dispo, you're still on acquisition, which then you can, you know, figure out which you have the systems, you have the agents and built the networks to
hmm
be able to build the acquisition without you having to be on phones
yeah,
every single day.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was me. Again, I was everything early on. I was acquisitions, dispositions, marketing, like all of it, right?
Hmm.
The hats that I still wear today are still heavy involvement with the marketing and figuring out which list our cold callers are going to call for the multifamily side, right?
Hmm.
And what states we're going to be in, what markets we're going to be in, um, just the data that goes into the state of the union for the market itself, right? Like there's just a lot of different things that go into our day to day that help us make educated decisions to be able to perform. And so, between Brent and I, that's kind of our day to day, and then Alex is really the money man at the end of the day, but he's also so business savvy that he challenges us in different ways to think differently, think outside the box. He loves to figure out how to get things out of our way to help us make what's the bottleneck,
Yeah.
and so that's what he's really really good at.
Oh, that's super interesting because the mindset is the biggest piece of it to be able to think bigger. And I had that with a mentor recently.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about the 2 mile theory, that it's so much easier to go 3 miles than it is two.
Mm,
And so what that looks like in business, it's so much easier to make $1 million than it is 100,000,
yeah.
because you're going to be able to, you're going to spend more time figuring out how to make 1 million.
Yeah.
But once you find that thing, it's going to be able to take you there a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Where, trying to make 100,000, you're going to get on the phones, you're going to do it all yourself. So that one really, really changed my mindset. And I think I tell this story almost every podcast, but that's when it really hit me. And now we're looking at getting our first business under contract to buy.
Yeah.
So being able to go from, hey, I'm trying to get this $10,000 wholesale deal, to where, hey, we're going to be looking at, about 15,000 a month coming in from a business, changes the game. So, mindset is so huge. But, to start getting wrapped up here, we kind of touched it on a little bit, but, what's coming up for you that you're excited about?
Yeah. I mean, we're, like I said earlier, under contract on 4 or 5 different multifamily complexes. And our goal is to try to hold as many of those as we can. And so we've really had a lot of success here getting those under contract, which has been a huge feat for us. Big learning curve from the beginning of the year to today on underwriting these deals and having these conversations with these multifamily owners. And so, for us, our goal is simple. Over the next 2 years, we want to own 1,000 doors. And I think we are positioned well to do that. And it's a large feat, but it's going to be a fun 18 months to come for sure.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I'm excited to watch it. So if anybody else wants to, keep track of your progress, they want to work with you, what's the best place to be able to do that?
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier, CLT REI is the real estate meetup group that Eric and I run every month. So if you're in the Charlotte area, absolutely stop by. It's usually the third Thursday of every month.
Yeah,
so the next
great
month,
meetup to go to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So our goal there is to provide value each and every month. And no matter where you are at in the business, like there's going to be seasoned vets, there's going to be newbies. So definitely drop in there. But you can find me on Instagram at Jarrett Jackson REI. That's JARRETT, Jackson REI. That's probably where you're going to get in touch with me the easiest. But yeah, if you're ever out at an event and you see me, come shake my hand. I'd love to meet you and see if there's a way that we could work together.
Awesome, Jarrett. Well, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast. I was super excited to get you on. And yeah, make sure you go to the event. That's one that I've been going to for, I think a couple years now. And, being able to listen to those speakers like Eric Klein, like Stephanie Betters, those people are going to coming in and changing your mindset, thinking so much bigger, and they're giving you the tools to be able to do that. So that's so much value that you guys are bringing by bringing that
I appreciate that,
by having that on. So but as for this podcast, thank you so much for listening. This has been Jarrett and Chris on the Leadway Wealth Builders Podcast. Thank you so much.